Imagine being married for 23 years. Throughout the years, there have been ups and downs, just like in any marriage, but you've worked through them all and stayed together. Your daughter turns 18 and your family celebrates her birthday together and has a blast.
Then 2 days later, your wife gives you divorce papers out of nowhere. You are shocked and never saw this coming. There's a reason why you never saw this coming.
According to stowfamilylaw.co.uk, Walkaway Wife Syndrome refers to women who over time have become frustrated and unfulfilled by their marriage, so much so that they eventually leave, typically after years of feeling unheard or taken for granted. These things progress over time, but we want to take a look at how they start in order to prevent them.
All right.
On this episode of
Causes can be unresolved conflict, emotional neglect, unmet needs, external stressors, and different love languages. Hmm.
So basically, life starts lifing,
Yeah.
and instead of paying attention to the relationship, we get to a point to where, as a couple,
Mm.
we drift apart. And so, in terms of unresolved conflict, your metaphor is to do what?
Kick the can down the road.
Kick the can down the road, and you just never pick the can up. You just keep kicking it.
Keep ignoring it. Don't talk about it. Don't do nothing.
Shut down.
When the problem comes, what do we used to do? We used to argue about it or have a discussion about it and then just agree to disagree and keep going.
And in some cases, agreeing to disagree is okay, but with major things, especially if they keep coming back up,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
when there's a
yeah.
problem. In terms of emotional neglect and external stressors,
Mm,
you have kids, there's work, there are all these outside things that start to
yeah.
weigh in on your marriage. And instead of finding ways to um, cope and manage those things in addition to
Mm,
fostering your connection,
yeah.
you put your energy onto those other
And
things.
then that lack of checking in with each other,
hmm
you know.
Um, One of the examples, as we were researching this,
Mm,
it talked about a woman expressing the need to her husband to talk,
yeah,
and he eventually sees that as nagging.
yeah.
And so the more she says, I want to talk about this, or she brings up things, he sees it as nagging and he
Mm,
starts to shut down. And then the different love languages, just want to point out that it's not wrong to have different love languages, but you have to recognize that
yeah,
the way that you receive love is not always the way your partner does.
right,
And sometimes you have to make that shift
right.
and make sure that you are giving them what they need in terms of how they receive love.
And that comes with the listening to your partner and understanding that, yeah, um, we'll just use Valentine's as an example, since
hmm
that's just passed. You know, and of course the marketers tell you flowers and candy, or diamonds or whatever. They're marketing all these products to us. But, and I can say as a guy, most time guys are last minute in their purchase sometimes, I was. I'm not gonna lie.
Well,
I'll
and
be the first to admit,
we actually did have this was last year, maybe, or
mm,
maybe last year, year before last, somewhere around in there, where we had not exchanged gifts in a while.
yeah,
And then when you got me some things and I said, I would have rather had a Michael's gift card,
uh,
but you expressed the joy that you had in going to pick these things out.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And just made myself sound very ungrateful, but you understand, and that's all that matters. Um, but the point was you were doing something in a way that speaks more to you and how
Yeah.
you felt giving and not
Hmm.
necessarily thinking about how I would feel receiving.
Yeah.
And that's something that throughout the years we've learned. I did that to you a few years back and I got you like clothes and shoes and things.
Mm.
And that's really not your thing, but that's what I felt in the mood
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
get. And we don't focus on those things, but those are the types of things that if we did them repeatedly without acknowledging
Yeah. Yeah.
that's not your thing, that's not my
Mm.
thing, that it could
And I
build
think
up that
it's
resentment.
okay every now and then. But like you
Right,
said, if it
right,
was a repeated thing, then it would turn into, well, you're not listening to me, you don't hear me. You
right,
know what I'm saying?
that, right. So, and that's what we want to avoid.
Yes, yeah.
So some of the characteristics and warning signs, in that scenario where she's all of a sudden she's nagging, she's saying, I want
Mm.
to talk, and he
Yeah.
sees it as nagging, well, then she stops.
Yeah.
So she starts to emotionally
Mm.
distance herself or withdraw from the relationship.
And his behind sitting up there thinking that everything is all good because she ain't nagging me about that no more. So I
Right.
guess everything is
So
all
I
good.
guess it
Hey,
resolved itself.
yeah.
That speaks to a lack of communication or less
Mhm.
communication.
Yeah.
And then you get to a point where you avoid conflict or have frequent conflict, which
Yeah.
both are equally as damaging.
Hmm.
If you're avoiding conflict, that means that something is going unresolved and you are leaving that space there for resentment to build. And then if there's frequent conflict, that means that nothing is getting resolved because you're going through the
Yeah.
same
Yeah.
issues over and over.
And then it turns into years and years of day after day, year after year of those feelings being there, but where she, swept them under the rug, so to
Mhm,
speak, and just
mhm,
kind of buried them. And then, but you bury them, but they're still there. You're still dealing with those feelings.
mhm.
And it's not like a constant thing, but it's, that pop up in your brain every now and then, and you become saddened. And then you realize, well, hey, or you think to yourself that, "Well, this joker ain't finna listen to me. He's never
Mhm.
gonna understand." And then you start imagining, and once a woman imagines herself not being with you, bruh, it's over.
Well, and also,
Start imagining her life without you, how much money she could save by not buying you tools and stuff.
they say that women always know who the backup is.
Yeah, I've heard that.
I've seen that. I've heard
I've
it.
heard that.
Um, you mentioned something about not addressing those things,
Mm.
and some women,
Uh-huh.
some of us,
Uh,
we we keep we keep track of those things. And so even
mm.
if I don't address it this time or I don't address that, I have a list
Oh, you do.
that's in my head so that when I do address it, I can go
How
down
big
my
is that list
list.
now? Is it big still? Is it small?
You really
Want
you
to?
really want to go into that list?
I mean, I'm just asking how many items. You know what I'm saying? Can it fill up a grocery cart or can it fill up the
We
carry
do that.
basket when you go in the store?
I don't do that anymore because you know I'll come to you and say, I need to
Mm,
talk about this. So
yeah,
I don't write list anymore.
yeah.
But we'll
Well,
just say back in the chilly day.
chili day. Yeah. Well, I think that um, you know, I couldn't imagine this scenario happening with us, but I can see how it can happen with people who don't form that friendship, that strong
Right.
friendship bond, as a couple.
Well, that's like when we talk about liking each other.
Mm, yeah.
Um, if you like me,
Yeah.
So if I'm telling you I need to talk to you,
Right.
I don't see you viewing it as nagging.
Yeah. Yeah.
And because I like you, if I
Hmm.
tell you I need to talk to you, it's something that I need to talk about. It's not me just nagging or getting on to you.
Yeah.
So that type of stuff. I
Hmm.
think when you focus on really liking the person you're with, you treat that person like you
Yeah.
treat your other friends, like you treat a friendship, and that makes a difference. So
Yeah.
I don't I mean, I don't think this would be something, especially to build up over years,
Right.
that we would deal with because I can't hold in I can't hold anything in that
Hmm.
long. I can bury the stuff,
And
but I can't.
I can't imagine, and I can see how some guys can get to that. I mean, I know I can be stubborn, you
You
know.
think?
I mean, hey, I've been told that.
I'm so glad that we're recording.
And I'm in it. In admittance that I can be about certain things.
Okay. Really
But
take
when
out the
it
hand.
comes to the relationship, when it comes to our friendship and the caring of you and the caring of not disappointing you, um, then that gives me the forethought to say, okay, I need to check in with her, even though, yeah, she's not complaining about anything. She's not, saying anything that, I may need to just, hey, you good? Is everything all right? But that goes with increasing our communication.
So, and that's when we look at ways to avoid walkaway wife syndrome.
Mm.
We've basically just summed it up in what we've said. You communicate,
Yeah.
and communication is two things. It's talking and listening.
Talking, listening, letter writing, and texting.
Right. You
Yes.
have to there's output, but there's also input. And
Mm.
that's what I think is missing a lot of times. You think communication and you think the output, the talking,
And not listening to
but not
respond,
listening. Right.
but listen to listen.
Right. Not listening to defend.
Yeah, listen to defend. Yeah.
Right. Regular check-ins,
Yeah.
and those, doesn't have to be anything like major or formal.
Mm.
You got anything you need to tell me?
Yes. And fellas, when there's this joke where the guys be like, well, when the wife come in and be like, we need to talk. And it's like, oh hell. Yeah, damn, I done done right. What did I do wrong? And it could be something totally like innocent, totally it could be,
We
just
just
need
need
to
to
talk
talk.
about, the bill, you know what I'm saying? But immediately you get into a pressure state and on the inside, like, oh shoot.
And the next thing is to show appreciation, to
Yes.
show gratitude for each other. I think that that's something that we've
Mm.
done throughout the years in big ways and in little ways.
Yeah.
And then of course our main thing is to cultivate that friendship.
Yes.
Because I like you
Mm. I
and
like you.
I want to make sure that if something good happens, I can share that with you.
Mm.
If something bad happens, I have your support.
Yeah.
If I make a good choice, you cheer me on.
Mm.
If I make a poor choice, you tell me, now
Yeah.
you know better.
Yeah.
So,
And then and at the end of the day, it's all about, just cultivating that friendship. That's how you have happy marriage. Just cultivating that friendship, um, and investing and being intentional about, cultivating that friendship and whatever you guys do, whatever you guys are into, and that may mean, hey, if she's into arts and crafts, fellas, you might need to go to the arts and crafts event every now and then.
yep.
You know what I'm saying? And spend that time, you know. Likewise, ladies, if he's into, I don't know, comes up top of my head is motorcycle ride because I ride motorcycles. every now and then get on the bike with him and, enjoy some of the scenery, get involved in each other's lives, each other's external activities,
Hmm.
and you'll be surprised what you learn and watch them glow up, watch them light up in their space. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
You try to figure out ways to help them in their space. Now I don't do it because, to me, I think I've counted, I don't know, 12 bins of yarn. Um, I don't do it. I don't just show up with yarn, not because I don't want to, but because I don't know what she's working on. So I just leave that up to her. Hey, you but when we go to Walmart or wherever we go to, I know we're gonna walk by the yarn.
Yep.
That's just our trip. We're gonna walk by the yarn. She sees something she like, she grab it. If she might be like, I ain't getting nothing today, and that's cool. But I know that's important to her. You know what I'm saying? So,
And we walk by the tools.
yep, we walk by the tools in case I don't, unless I don't feel like walking by the tools. So, that's just being a part of each other's lives. So, we got some takeaways. We got some takeaways, but there's three key takeaways to avoid walkaway wife syndrome. One, be aware of how your partner gives and receives love. Two, be intentional about having and maintaining meaningful communication about your relationship with your spouse. And three, listening is also part of communication, not just speaking. You got that?
I think so. For our Let's Discuss It topic, we want to share with you 5 stages of a thriving relationship. So, in a relationship, you go through different stages, and just like in life, you learn, you grow, and you move through phases of life. Your relationship, you learn things and grow as a couple, and you move through different stages.
Mm.
So, what is the first stage?
Um, First stage is romance, of course, That's when
Honeymoon phase.
relationship is new. You can't like, oh man, I clock out at 5. I'm gonna get home, I'm gonna take a shower, and then I'm gonna go hang out with my honey. Maybe we're gonna go to, I don't know, Waffle House or something like that tonight. Just sit and talk.
Waffle
That's when you
House.
sit in the booth next to each other, you know what I'm saying? Holding hands and, just
Until the food
infatuated with
comes.
each other till the
You
food
sit
comes.
next to each
Then
other
you
until the
got to go to
food
the other
comes, and
side.
then I need my space. Yeah.
But that's just when it's new. Everything is exciting. You're bonding. You tend to overlook some things that you may notice, but you're like, that's
It's
okay.
when you're showing each other the best of you.
Yeah, the
You
best
show
of
each
you.
other the
Yeah,
best of yourself.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah, yeah.
So next we have the power struggle.
Oh,
That's when the honeymoon is over.
mm.
That's when you start to see some of those negative qualities in your partner.
That's
You
when
don't
the
know how,
real them come out. That's when you
you know
start feeling.
how to take it. You might have
That's when that
conflict.
first argument happens.
You have conflict. You're trying to figure out, okay, first and foremost, do I even like you enough to try and move past this?
Why in the hell was the waitress staring at you? I don't know. Do you know her? No, I don't know her.
She
She was
keep
looking
filling
at you.
your glass up.
She
I'm
was looking at
thirsty
you
too.
for a mighty long time. I don't know that woman.
Who are
Oh,
you talking
ha
about?
ha, and Kiki and her jokes and stuff. I'm sorry, I just had a flashback.
From who? Ooh. Anyways,
Ooh,
you start to settle in,
yeah.
and you start to realize that all that glitters ain't
You
gold.
start to realize, oh, they shit do stink. Oh, it does stink.
Next stage, sir.
The next stage is the commitment stage. That's when you go through all the reality and then you make a commitment. Many people don't realize conflict is supposed to happen
Yeah.
and is the most natural thing in the world. So, how do you deal with those conflicts when they arise? That's when you're learning and you make a commitment. So, there are two main questions that you ask yourself. What does this relationship need from me to thrive? And how have I been contributing to what has been working? And how do I need to change and grow?
What I like about those questions are the
What's that?
fact that there's self accountability.
Yeah.
In a relationship, oftentimes when issues pop up, we want to point fingers at the other person.
Yeah. Hmm.
And while some of the actions of individuals are purely their own,
Hmm.
there are things that we do within a relationship that can either make or break
Yeah.
it. And
Yeah.
so once we get to the point where we focus on ourselves,
Hmm.
what can I do
Yeah. What can I?
to make this relationship work?
Right.
That's when I think that that's when you've reached the level of growth and
Yeah. Yeah.
maturity. And that's when you know, okay, we can work things out because I'm taking
Hmm.
responsibility, you're taking responsibility. That brings us to stage 4, which is growth.
Yep.
And during this stage, you become more intentional about your actions when it
Hmm.
comes to your relationship. There's a deeper connection. And because there's an ease with that relationship.
Yeah. It makes when you have difficulties, they don't last as long. You go from arguing about something for 3 days to maybe, it lasts an hour or something like that.
You
That's when
learn
you
how
don't go to
to,
bed mad,
right. You
you know.
learn how to navigate those
Yeah,
conflicts. You
yeah.
learn how
Hmm.
to, a lot of times you have to take self out of it and do what's best for the
Yep.
relationship. And it gets easier at that stage. That's when there's joy that
Deep
you
connection
that you and your partner
and
have.
renewed hope.
And that brings us to stage 5.
Thriving. Oh, yes, thriving. Thriving is where you want to be. Thriving is the kind of love in which you've been dreaming of. You've been thinking about it. Yes, I can't wait till we get there. Can't wait till we get there. And what is there, baby? That's when you are best friends, allies, teammates, and lovers.
Are we at that stage?
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Thriving like a mug.
So at the thriving stage, there's a shared vision,
Yep.
there's safety
Safety.
and trust. That's a big one.
That's when you feel alive about your
Mm-hmm.
relationship. That's when you like, man, after 27 years, I still happy to come home to just put my arms around you and kiss you.
Oh,
Yeah, you know.
why your voice dropped like that
That's cause
during this
that's
part?
cause it's deep. It's deep thoughts. And it's not, yeah, I messed up and told her one time. She was like, and this was in the very beginning.
Oh, I know what you're.
I can't wait to you to come home. I just count the minutes. And my dumb ass said, well, sound like you need a hobby.
Yeah,
I don't
that's
know
what
what
he
the
said.
hell I was thinking about.
Sounds like you need a hobby.
I don't know what the hell I was thinking about. And I've been hearing that ever since. Now I just brought it back up.
You did. Yeah.
And we supposed to be thriving. But anyway,
We are thriving. Somehow we thrive
we
past that.
thrive past
Um,
that.
I think like the thriving stage is you have the romance that's there,
Hmm.
you have the commitment, you have the growth. It's all the good parts.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is, and what you have to remember is once you get to that point, it doesn't mean that you won't fall back into power struggle.
Hmm.
It just means that it's easier to get
To
back out
navigate.
of
Yeah, to get
power
back out of it. Yep.
because we have things in place now. We have tools. We have we know each other. There's the safety and the trust so that when we get to that power struggle, for one, we can recognize it easier.
And honestly, if you look at it, a good one should go from romance stage to thriving back and forth because that's when you rediscover, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
The what brought you together.
Right,
Thinking about those things.
right.
I know during the podcast we've discussed, you know, the beginning of our relationship, and I just felt the renewed excitement even today when we had that interview.
Mm-hmm.
We were talking about how we started.
Yeah,
That just woke up something in me, you know, like yeah, man, you know, just thinking about those times. So it does help to go back and, you know, talk about, you know, the beginning.
yeah.
And then you learn that some of the ways you thought then is maybe a little bit different, or maybe you thought one way about something then,
Mm-hmm.
and you might be like, well, this is what I was actually thinking. You know, it's able to be real about those things,
Right.
you know.
Like in the previous section, we talked about love languages.
Yeah.
It's good to do those to take the quiz at different stages in your relationship
Yeah.
because you'll find that those have changed. I know for me, um, gifts, receiving gifts was my biggest one
Hmm.
for a long time, and
Yeah.
that has shifted into um, quality time, I believe.
Hmm.
And so, as we change and mature as individuals, of course, that change
Yeah.
is going to affect our relationship.
Yeah.
And thankfully, we have been able um, to grow and mature
Hmm.
at a pace that doesn't separate us, but we've grown closer.
Yeah.
I still like you.
I still like you too. Oh, and another important, and I'm going to double back on the growth stage, which I did underline and I did want to share, but I didn't. When it says that uh, many couples receive outside support through books, videos, couples retreat, and/or counseling. So that may be something. If you're not already looking into individual um, couples counseling, couples coaching,
Couples coaching,
yeah, yeah, you know,
marriage mentors,
hint, hint, where,
books,
yeah, books, you know,
unlocking
like
forever.
forever, yeah, that'll help too, you know, videos, Beyond I Do Podcast, YouTube,
There you go.
Beyond I Do Podcast.
There you go.
We
Look
got
at
a
all
lot of
those.
growth for y'all.
Look at that.
So support our growth, we'll support your growth.
Oh my gosh. All right. Anything else?
That's all I got
All
for
right.
right now.
So until next time.
And until next time, y'all, you know what? We gonna holla at y'all.